It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes.
And I say, insect or man, death should always be painless.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
I caught him, Sheriff. Wait, who is it? Billy Loomis. Sir.
Pardon me, I'm Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis.
I think our friend Sam Loomis didn't know that Marion was here.
Oh, Sam, I hate having to be with you in a place like this.
Now just listen to me. When you go down the street to the Mackenzie's house, I want you to tell them to call the police.
Your car. Drive down to the Mackenzies.
We must be mad. Literally mad.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
It was fun.
Good evening, chat. How are you doing tonight? Can you let me know if my audio is coming through okay? Because I've moved the mic a bit. It's a little bit weird. Hopefully it's working. Hopefully sounding a bit better.
What's that? What are you saying?
All right. Don't try and Sargod me. You know, I'm checking now, not 17 minutes into the broadcast.
Ah, you saw that one too, then I take it.
Good times. Very good times. Very good times. I hope. Oh no! Look at this,
Maverick. No, stop burning the place down. No.
Oh no!
Your fire is to be contained in my streams, my dude. Come on.
Shocking stuff. All right. Well. Yeah. Last week, I don't know what it was. It just came out a bit wrong. I can try and sit a bit closer to it, and we'll see how we do. But thanks. Okay, good. It sounds like we're good on the audio front. I hope you guys are fine. It's me and TCG tonight. Mitch, unfortunately, unable to make it, but very keen to get back for our first Argento movie, which is almost certainly the third one we're going to cover. Oh. But I've got an ambitious giallo after this. That's a bit rarer. I thought we'd stretch ourselves. We'll go for a more obscure giallo choice. But if it's so obscure that no one can find it, then I think we'll maybe we can stick on the Italian horror film that the Saw movies ripped off. What do you reckon, guys?
Sure, why not? This isn't one of them, surely. This isn't one of them.
Not in the least. Not in the least. No, I was thinking Profondo Rosso is an early Argento, but you watch that and you're just gonna say, oh. I see exactly when they took their notes.
Right.
How are you doing, TCG?
I'm very good. Yeah. Active weekend, busy weekend, and trying to get back into the swing of things with the old YouTube gig, and have been very, very busy writing and researching and prepping and all that jazz. Yeah. No, it's good to get back on the grind. What about you?
Definitely. I did see you got a premiere out just before this stream.
I did. I timed that intentionally, by the way. Yeah. So if you haven't already, if you're not aware, then there is a premiere over. Well, it's not a premiere anymore. It's now available to watch. It is a story about a man who was an RAF pilot but became a lady killer, and it takes place in 1946. Bit of an obscure one, and we like obscure stuff, don't we? Horrorshow.
Yeah, it's not one I'd heard of before.
Mm-mm.
But you went into some grisly details, like there were some turns in there, like some details of bits bitten off. I was
Yep. Some British bits bitten off.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mergut. He's just finishing lunch.
Oh, sorry, Mergut. Whoopsie. Yeah. Anyway, we had a whole bunch of new people join the channel since I tried a new feature. So I'll just say hi, new viewers. If this is your first time watching Double Feature Horror Show, this is the most regular thing I do on this channel. Because obviously the videos I do, they take a lot of work, whole lot of editing, whole lot of research. So that I can have that breadth of coverage and have something regular and get a chance to talk to everyone, and shoot my mouth off, basically. I do like to do a weekly stream, and that's what this is. And in this, we're going to cover a horror topic and then a horror movie in depth. Golden rule is we will always try and talk longer than the length of the film itself. In this
case, might struggle tonight.
Yeah, we might struggle. This was an experience. This,
do you know what? Right? Do you know? I am not happy. I am not happy. You know, last week was Plan 9 from Outer Space, and you know, granted, you know, we didn't talk about that film last week, but I still watched it, thinking that we were going to stream. And you know my thoughts about that, and then you subject me to this film.
In fairness, this one was a new one for me.
Oh, was it?
I'd seen Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters, whatever you want to call Fulci's film. 2 films before this.
Right.
It didn't really prepare me. I'm going to be honest. Didn't really prepare me.
I mean, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get it. I've actually got the Wikipedia in I don't even think it has an IMDb page. I've got a TMDB page up because, man, I just could not get into this film at all. And I think the dubs obviously were a contributing factor to that. There were some hilarious. Some of the bits were hilarious, though.
They do lean into sort of comically weird, I've got to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it post mini topic, but just the scene where the sort of detective sort of like interrogating the people in that psychic's apartment is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, that's glorious. And he's in that scene and no other scenes.
I know.
He was so great. And it's like you get one scene with him and then he's off.
You know, his main aim was to find them guilty, or, you know, to find evidence to prove that that this girl had died under their hands, you know, some sort of drug related incident or whatever. And then, nothing afterwards. And I tell you what it felt like, right? Because for those who haven't seen it, the detective is a black dude, right? But it genuinely felt like a white dude wrote how a black person would speak.
Yes.
Even to one of the, and I'm air quoting here, suspects that he's talking to is just another black dude. It's just the dialogue. Yeah, granted it's dubbed, but my word, it is terrible. It reminds me of and this is over on my second channel, Police Quest 4. I did a gameplay. I did a let's play of that years ago, about a year ago on my main channel. Moved it over to the second channel, and just the interactions with the black people in that, like, you know, that dialogue was written by white people, and I mean that from like how the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would write white people sort of perspective. Just reverse that, and that's how it felt.
A real G.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you spitting truth?
Mm-hmm. That's right, Jive Turkey.
Amazing. It was. Well, we'll get into it. It's got its own vibe. It's got its own vibe. Before that, we're going to have a little discussion related to Halloween Ends, which is coming out, I believe, next week on the 14th of October. Just some little thoughts we have about that. We'll go over that. But before all that, a little bit of an announcement. I had an interesting message. And by the way, I hope you're taking the time to, fire maggots all over that like button.
Oh, God, that scene.
Grab the back of that subscribe and just crunch its skull and then rip that.
Zoom in on the share button again and again and again and again with as many people as you know. Just don't stop zooming in.
Gosh, that's it, Maggie. Exactly. The bed.
I speak Jav.
Love it. We all love an airplane reference, but I had a little notification, and this genuinely happened. Someone was being an absolute sweetie and was trying to joined this channel as a member on YouTube, and it was getting blocked and failing over and over again, and they weren't able to sort of join as a member. So they joined on Subscribestar. So I don't know if you're possibly having that trouble. Presumptively, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that via Super Chats, or you can do it via subscribing on Subscribestar, or joining as apparently joining as a member, although that has been difficult. But if you do have trouble joining as a member on YouTube, you can do it on Subscribestar. And if you do that, however you join, you'll be able to see exclusive content and get early previews of things. You'll get little threads of the Easter eggs that are hidden in the videos, if you like finding out that sort of stuff. But the main thing is also doing that, as well as a bit of beer money. The main thing is it helps me fund the big project, which I actually need to spend a bit of money on. So that is what you're helping me do. But I don't know, man. It seems like Susan is keeping me down, TCG.
Sounds like it. What
Sounds
have you
like
done?
it. So, well, yeah, I will say, yeah, Subscribestar also takes a lot less money. But on the off chance that Susan decides to really tighten things, I do have a bit of a backup plan. I've kind of been forced into it, if I'm honest. I'm going to have to go with OnlyFans, I'm afraid.
No.
I'm sorry. We have to go with OnlyFans.
Oh God, no! What
now that we're outside of the summer months, obviously the urge isn't as big. But if you do find yourselves in need of a home ventilation solution, OnlyFans has your back. Whether it's a desk fan, a pedestal fan, or a portable fan, OnlyFans has got you, and you'll be able to get an exclusive discount by mentioning my name. So yeah, if that helps, that'd be great. I'd like the shekels. So
that was unexpected. Although I'm interested to learn about the subscription tier service. Like, is like the more that you contribute towards your OnlyFans, the bigger and more powerful the fan, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, lots of people saying, are they going to get blown on the OnlyFans? I say definitely. I mean, you don't even need to turn up the full power. It'll be blowing your hair away. These are powerful fans. I think that's what they're after. The message was a bit confusing, to be honest.
I can't see why. Can't see why this seems very wholesome. Subscribe to Horrorshow's OnlyFans, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. It's this is a family friendly chat.
Absolutely.
Channel after all. I should get back to that.
Slim, poor Proper is going to get her bits out on OnlyFans. I am in.
Why would I do that, Slim? I've got the fan to keep me cool.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. I can keep my jumper on in winter. All right. Okay. Maybe we should talk about something a bit more on topic.
Good.
I'm sorry
thinking.
about that.
Are we moving on to the horror topic?
I think we'll move on to the horror topic very quickly. It's this lad. This is coming out next week. Halloween Ends.
It's William.
It is. It's our boy.
It's William Shatner.
Yeah.
I was saying to my wife. I was saying to my wife the other day. I wonder how William Shatner feels about his face, essentially, just being a symbol of horror. I don't think he's ever spoken about it.
I've not seen it. I imagine there's plenty of things that William Shatner gets a bit grumpy over. But I've never heard him talk about this.
I say he is in his 90s now, so I can imagine there's quite a bit that he get grumpy about.
He is indeed. Yeah. So this is Halloween Ends. It's the last part of a trilogy launched in 2018. So we had Halloween, the sequel to Halloween, never stops being confusing. Then Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, and it was always planned as a trilogy. So I guess what I wanted to know is there excitement about it? I mean, are you excited about it, TCG?
I mean, given that I haven't even seen the second one yet, funny enough, actually, me and my wife were talking about this the other day, actually saying that this is coming out, and that we really do need to sort of get our acts together and see the second one, because we do want to go and see this. I don't believe that it will be an end. I mean,
Yeah.
history tells us otherwise. When you look at other franchises that have tried to sort of, close off the saga, one that obviously springs to mind is the Friday the 13th franchise. Of course, with
Oh,
the final
yes.
chapter, they lied.
They had the final chapter, number 4, and
Yeah.
they had the final Friday, Jason Goes to Hell, number 9, and it's like,
I will say
neither of those were the last one.
No, and I would say though that the final chapter, funnily enough, was my favourite one. So I mean, if they're looking to sort of quote unquote end the franchise, if you will, then I would like to think that they're going to go out with a bang, but I don't know. What's the producer director looking like? I don't know. Is John Carpenter still going? Is John Carpenter still?
He'll still be involved. Oh gosh, my brain is skipping on that one.
Because I mean, I know that he was involved. I know that he was involved with the reboot quite heavily, because he was like, I'll only get on the project if we just use practical effects, because I know he was quite anti CGI for the reboot, and they buckled. Well, they didn't buckle, but they agreed to that. I don't know. See whether that was the case for the second or the third.
Positive.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is, it's just, I kind of felt I can't get super hyped because it feels like there isn't much room to. I feel that with Halloween in particular, there isn't much room to move in. There's not really anywhere to go.
True.
So for anyone who's seen Halloween Kills, Michael kind of wins. Like he's trying to get to a location. He gets to a location. He does a kill of a character. He's kind of won, and it's sort of okay. I'm keeping it as vague as I can.
Are you trying to say that the Halloween trilogy now is like the original Star Wars trilogy?
Well, maybe you could say it's got that. I suppose you're ending the second one on a nadir. I suppose you could say that. It's just, but the thing is, from the trailers you hear that there's a big time skip.
Right. Okay.
It's gone forward 4 years. Is
right.
So 4-year gap between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and I think it's interesting. But I read a slightly cynical motive into that, in that they kind of didn't know where to go with it, so they reset it.
Am I right in thinking that? Am I right in thinking that Halloween Kills was a direct sort of continuation from the first one?
Yeah. Same night.
Yeah, because I know that Halloween 2, going back some, was the same, wasn't it? It was straight on.
Yeah, direct continuation. I think that actually worked quite nicely. And Halloween Kills has some rather considerable issues, but it did shake up the formula a small amount.
Yeah,
which I quite appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
some silliness,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite interesting what you said about it, being limited in terms of where it can go, and I do agree with that. With these sorts of horror films, I mean, they are pretty formulaic. Bad guy in a mask, stabs up some teenagers, gets offed at the end, comes back in a sequel, does the same again. But I think what the original first two, at the very least, did well was keep that timeline quite concise. And I think, as I say, I've not seen Halloween Kills yet, but I imagine that I'd probably enjoy that one just as much as I did the first one, the first reboot, if they did that. So going sort of time skipping about 4 years does seem a bit of an odd thing to do. I would have preferred if they just carried on, even if it was just like a couple of days after or something like that. But
yeah, it really does strike me as a sort of, you've written yourself into a corner, so you time skip.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. It's just, I'm not trying to hate on it, because I think obviously I really love Halloween. Halloween 2 I'm quite fond of.
So
I actually defend Halloween 3, and I'm glad there are people who have seen it. Yeah, Mergu, absolutely. I really like the original idea that the Halloween films would just do a different thing each year. I loved that. Yeah, I may be going into this in some depth rather soon. But with no ill will to the Michael Myers storyline, I just feel like we've seen over and over that it hasn't really known where to go outside of, that basic scenario.
Yeah.
If you remember the Magical Druids arc.
I vaguely see. The thing is,
Yeah.
I'm not as attuned to things like the Halloween films as I am because I had all the Friday the 13th on DVD. The same with the Nightmare on Elm Streets, but not really the Halloweens. Although I know they're easily available. I'm just going to stop you there, Mima. No.
Oh, Mima.
Rob Zombie's Halloweens were toilet.
I thought it was an interesting idea,
nice
but I didn't like the take.
Mm-mm.
I would have been 100. Tell you what I liked about it, and what I would have loved to see was, I would have really loved if he had never broken out, and like the first film ends with him getting out. If everything just leads up to him escaping the asylum.
I see. Okay.
I would have gone for that. I would have eaten that up.
No, I mean, I don't like Rob Zombie.
TCG, careful! You know what happened last time.
Oh yeah, this is true. I just don't like his directing style. I just don't. Sorry. I mean, The Devil's Rejects. When I first watched that, me and my mate watched it, and we both agreed that it was perhaps the worst film we'd ever seen. It has, fortunately for Rob, it has been usurped in more recent years. In fact, if anything, in more recent weeks. But
yeah.
But yeah,
it's an acquired taste, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem with sort of like some of the practical stuff he does. I mean, he definitely sort of upped the gore, I think, with the Halloween films, which of course, as someone who enjoys the old practical effects side of things, I did appreciate it. But I think what sort of differentiates, and I've seen Mima's just popped a comment now saying that she appreciated the fleshing out of the background. I can understand that, but for me, I just didn't really, it didn't really add to me, if that makes sense. It wasn't really something I was personally invested in. I just wanted to sort of get to it, Yeah.
And Carpenter didn't go for it either. He just wanted. He didn't want Michael humanized either. He wants everyone else humanized, but he wants Michael to be a sort of black hole of just lack of humanity. He's meant to be the abyss that you stare into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, totally. And I think, thinking back to the film, I can see Rob Zombie tried to do that by making Kid Michael a mute. But then it's just like, what ruins it for me is the scene where that one female inmate's getting snuggled by two inmates, and then Michael comes to his defense. It's like, why would Michael care? Why would he care? It's supposed to be this bottomless pit, but he's like Negan from The Walking Dead. He's happy to murder you 7 different sides from Sundays, but oh no, don't touch ladies inappropriately. That's bad. Of course it's bad, but do you know what I mean? It's like, he shouldn't be the one to say that.
It's a grim writing trick that you see absolutely everywhere. It's like, I want to humanize the bad person, the villain of the franchise, and the only way I can do it is just provide someone even worse right next to them.
Yeah.
And it seems like a kind of easy one to take. I know they've done it with Don't Breathe too. Don't Breathe, by the way, cracking film.
Oh,
absolutely
I've not
cracking.
seen that. I've seen I think there's the first one I've seen. I think.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's the one with the blind guy.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, the first one I quite liked, but it did take a bit of a weird turn. But no. Thank you for reminding me.
Hey, no worries. I love that one. I will just say, hey, Mr. Gently Benevolent, good to see you, GB. I also see Brundlefly, Dom, and Mr. Ugg. Second, good to see you guys.
I love that name.
It's a great name. Can I just call you Ugg? We might get down to Ugg anyway. I I guess what we're saying is I find it quite interesting and bold that they're calling it Halloween Ends, because I don't know if these ever really end. No one's ever really gone.
Next one will be Halloween Reborn.
I can totally see it. I mean, they've already used Halloween Resurrections once, and
true. Yeah,
less said about that. Also, but speaking of which, by the way, R.I.P. Coolio.
I know. Although it was
That was
Busta
a weird
Rhymes.
one, man.
It was Busta Rhymes in Resurrection.
Oh no! Damn it! Which one was? I'm gonna have to check that. It was Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes was Resurrection. If that's what you're thinking.
It was. Oh dear. Apologies.
Did you just pull a Daily Mirror horror show?
I totally did. I just Daily Mirrored him. He's not even, gone and forgotten already. Shocking. Let's swiftly move on. I won't edit that out or anything. Oh, gutted. I think, in fairness, I didn't make it all the way through that film, so my memory of it is quite hazy. But yes, I shouldn't really excuse myself that. Coolio was in a horror movie, though, wasn't he?
I can have a quick look. I'm sure.
Let's have a. Tell you what, while you have a quick look at that, I'll close the topic down, and I will just. Oh, here it comes. Hello, me old lad.
Ray.
There he is. I did say that if he came in and shared his considerable opinions, that I would treat people to a little bit of Gatsby.
Okay, so
that, by the way, is who makes the noise every week.
Oh, bless. Oh,
yeah. That's him right there.
So, Coolio was in a film called Dracula 3000. I think we should watch. Oh, this was a television science fiction vampire film. It was released in 2004, and get this, chat. It has an IMDb score of 2.1 out of 10. I'm going to check the Rotten Tomatoes score as well.
I wish he had gone into Halloween Resurrections.
I know. Let's have a look. Is
Dracula 3000. Oh my goodness.
I don't even think it has a Rotten Tomatoes. It's Dracula 2000.
Dracula 2000 is an underrated bit of glory.
Right.
Yiz is gone, but she would back me up on this. That is the most fantastic schlock around.
Okay.
It's so good.
Oh my God. It's got Gerard Butler, Omar Epps.
Oh, yeah.
Christopher Plummer. Bloody hell.
And Jerry Ryan, a rare 7 of 9 outside of the Borg makeup cameo. Just looking
Wes Craven was an executive producer on this film.
Yeah.
Oh my days.
It's a very special production. All right, Gatsby.
Well, I don't know
because I don't usually have the camera on. You can see the difficulty I have stroking him.
Okay, I don't know what Dracula 3000's Rotten Tomato score was because it doesn't look like it has one, or I could just not be looking hard enough. But Dracula 2000 had a 17% click rating, 39% audience score.
That's just cruel. That's just cruel. It's a gay romp, a laugh riot.
Don't let Harry in here. You say that.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a little bit of Gatsby. Anyway, I think we're probably done. I don't know if I am going to watch Halloween Ends. I probably will, but I don't think I'm going to rush to do it. But I'm curious. I'm curious, but I think it's more of a watch at home. To be honest.
Yeah,
I enjoyed Kills, but I don't think it has anywhere to go. So I will be cautious with it and enjoy it in the comfort of my own home with. Hang on, how can I do it? No. That on my lap. Mirroring is confusing, folks. All right. Well, I think that is our topic, and we should probably get on to covering the movie. But before we get fully on, I do have to have a bit of a shill break. I've already mentioned it once, but guys, as I said, just to make sure I can fully fund the special project. And by the way, massive thank you to everyone who is already pitching in. Sending super chats or joining as a member. You're helping it happen because I have to spend money on this thing to make it work. But in addition, we do of course have OnlyFans. TCG, I don't know if you'd be particularly familiar with it, but just in case you aren't, remember, guys, OnlyFans exists. There's lots of appeal. OnlyFans is the leading social network for Vietnamese people only.
Oh, God.
If you have any Vietnamese friends or family, let them know about OnlyFans.
Don't stop it.
I need the sponsorship money, TCG. How else am I going to build a set and get a 50mm lens?
Oh my God.
I need additional lighting. That's why I've got to shill these niche.
I'm genuinely intrigued to see how far you can stretch this.
Don't know.
Oh my God. OnlyFans helps you connect and share with fellow Vietnamese people everywhere.
Yeah, exactly, guys. So if you know anyone who would be interested, point them to OnlyFans and tell them Proper Horror Show sent you, and then I'll get my delicious shill bucks.
What currency will they pay you in, though?
Is it dong?
I don't know. I don't know.
Guys, I mean, I kind of want to tell you to Google Vietnamese dong, but I don't know if it'll turn out right. Let's just try currency Vietnam.
It is the Vietnamese dong.
It is.
Oh no!
Excellent.
On the 26th of September, the Vietnamese dong went a bit flaccid for a couple of days.
Oh, has it dropped?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Droopy, mate. Droopy. Although it is rising back up now.
It is rising, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After that is how it goes. You know. Also, it's cold, so.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I'll stop. I'm certainly not gonna drill that into the ground. I am getting a little bit of sign that my internet is not massively holding up here, so I'll stop the camera. But do forgive me that, chat. I was getting a little sign that my bandwidth wasn't holding out. Well, TCG, we got to do it, mate. we got to talk about it. We got to do it, man. Mm.
Oh God, here we go.
All right. I'll lay out a bit of an intro. We're going to spoil this in great depth. We're going to talk... We're probably not. But we won't worry about spoiling it. So if you want to not have City of the Living Dead spoiled for you, feel free to drop out now. If you don't care, or you've seen it already, do feel free to stick around, folks. We're going to talk about Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Now, I said this guy was a worker. He made this the year after Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters. And he managed to sneak in a cheeky extra movie in between. This is like that Ed Wood production time here. He got 2 movies out in 1980, Contraband and this City of the Living Dead, aka, and I apologize to all my Italian friends here, Para nella città de morte vivente.
All I heard was Italian screeching noises.
It does seem to actually match what it's translated into. Hello, Gatsby.
That's right. Oh
yeah.
My God. Yeah. Just I nearly watched the wrong film because there's a film 1960 called City of the Dead, I think it's called. And I nearly watched that one by mistake. It wasn't until I looked at the year and then again I was like, oopsie daisy. Kind of wish I did watch that.
Yes.
Or am I
he made 3 movies the next year, 1981.
Mate,
Lucio Fulci pushed out The Black Cat, The Beyond, and The House by the Cemetery.
My dude,
3 movies in the next year.
My dude, he needs to. Well, if 2 films in 1 year is anything to go by, if he did 3 films in 1 year, I think the lesson that he needs to learn is quality over quantity.
I don't think that's a particularly unkind comment. He did manage to sneak himself a little cameo in the movie, by the way, guys, if you wanted to see him. He is the doctor on the left.
Oh, okay.
That's your man.
I see.
Yeah. I feel sad that I noticed that. But I'm looking at this guy. So he's a working guy, but you get the impression he's not a Kubrick. He's not about the meticulous, long production process to craft the most refined product. He was very much a working director in the Roger Corman mode.
Okay.
Except I feel with I think slightly less autonomy than Roger Corman. I think basically he was offered the money to get the products out and do it as quickly as possible. And yeah, I think that's how he made his money.
Right.
Did you sort of pick that vibe up from this film?
I genuinely got nothing from it. I just, like I said to you, like backstage, I just could not get any vibe from it. I really felt disconnected from what I was watching. In fact, there were parts of this film, and to be fair, it's not even that long of a movie. I think it's 80 minutes. I think it is 90, or actually 90,
just about gets to 90 minutes.
Oh man, I was begging for it to end. Actually, because I had a couple of days off work, so I managed to sort of actually. I even set the atmosphere, Horror Show. I even set the atmosphere, and I was screaming at my TV, and I was like looking at my phone. So I had it casting onto the TV, and I was just looking. Oh God, I still got 20 minutes left. Oh my God! And then I felt like 20 minutes has gone by. I looked down and said, "Oh, for God's sake, still 15 minutes left. What is going on? What are they doing?"
Would it? That's quite weird you say that, because Waifu literally did the same thing.
Really?
She started giving me updates like 40 minutes to go.
It's just
like unprompted.
I know.
We did have a bit of a what's happening.
This one was a struggle.
Yeah. All right. Well, so it was. I'll just quickly point out it was produced relatively low budget. But he had a bit more money following the success of Zombie 2. You know, he'd got his reputation as a guy who could put the movies out. We see some interesting Giallo stylings that I think are more of a foundation, basically, than the fully finished product. The style isn't mastered the way you get it with Argento, which we're going to see. But this is why I want to show you the sort of rougher stuff here.
Right. Okay.
Before you get the fully formed Giallo masters. He also in this, he said he was quite interested to cover a bit of a Lovecraftian vibe.
Yeah. Okay. I will say I did sort of pick that up. But because I mean he does. Watching it, he mentions that one of the locations, or the location that they go to, is of course it's Dunwich, which was a. In fact, I think it wasn't part of the what were they called, the audio things that we watched.
It was, yeah. So we watched the they were the Mystery Machine first, and then they were the H.P. Lovecraft investigations, and then the Lovecraft mysteries. But yes, they covered the Dunwich Horror as their third and final season.
Yeah.
This is not really an adaptation of the Dunwich Horror.
No. No.
There's some, if I stretch, there's some aesthetics, but not really. I mean, Mergut, I'm pretty sure you'll have seen this is not really an adaptation or all that Lovecraftian.
No. It just seemed to take elements from it just to, in my opinion, just to see if people would catch on to the catch on, you know, like I did. I mean, in terms of the story, I didn't really. I mean, I kind of understood what they were doing. I mean, it seemed simple enough, but it just took bloody forever to get to the point. But yeah, with when I heard Dunwich mentioned a few times, I'm like, did they get that from Lovecraft? Are they grab it from? I mean, are they latching onto his coattails and trying to ride that for a bit? Because it doesn't connect. It's just, oh, here's a name. Oh, that name is also associated with this. Oh, okay. But it doesn't like.
So do you think kind of a similar thing to how Zombie Flesh Eaters pretended to be a sequel to Dawn of the Dead in Italy?
Yeah.
You could say that, and it's probably not all that unkind to say that. I mean, that these films have a cult following. This is actually the first part of Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy.
Right. Okay.
I didn't have familiarity with them, so that's why I wanted to start with the first one, because I like to give myself a bit of a surprise and have a film I'm not familiar with. But this was a bit of a struggle. I also noticed that, Margaret, it's so weird. Like, a few people I follow have been talking about the Book of Enoch recently, and it's sort of them just mentioning that was quite weird.
Not the
but
same book.
We'll cover some of the weirder aspects of it as we go through it.
Yeah.
TCG, you know I'm going to ask you to do. It's time for the pint of Guinness challenge.
Oh, okay.
Do your best.
I can do this.
Okay, go for it. So, on the off chance, if you have never heard this before, we try and summarize the film in the time it would take for you to get served a pint of Guinness.
Okay, so.
All right, go for it, TCG.
Right, let's go. So there's a seance taking place, I assume in America somewhere, New York. And while the seance is taking place, and I have no idea why it's taking place, but it is, one of the spirit mediums gets images of this priest ending himself, basically. And she is so freaked out at this, she ends up dying from fear. There are some police officers who are a bit suspicious as to the manner of her death, but we don't see them. Don't worry about that. We don't need to worry about that. But it turns out she's not dead. She's just gone into sort of like a catatonic state, and a journalist or a journalist is trying to learn a bit more about the death. But then he goes to the grave, and then he can hear her screaming and shouting, and it takes him about 20 minutes to decide to go and help her. And then together they decide.
He goes back and forth a bit, doesn't he?
Oh my god! Just get on with it, mate. Come on. But then so after digging her out, he takes her back to the medium, and like one of the old dears there. We get lots of close-ups of her eyes while she's telling us all about how the priest who hanged himself actually opened up the gates of hell, and All Saints' Day is coming on Monday, and they need to basically destroy his body before All Saints' Day to close the gates of hell. So this story basically is just a 90-minute story of people walking to a location, trying to drive, and occasionally telling the journalist that he's hungry, whilst also spooky goings on are happening around Dunwich. You've got people rising from the dead. You've got, I don't know if they were spirits as such, but they were sort of like zipping in and out of camera shot. They were appearing and disappearing and squeezing people on the back of their heads and just generally causing mischief. And it was up to the journalist and medium lady and a few other wacky characters to save the day.
I think that's fair enough.
That's the best I can do.
That's fair enough. There's a couple of key scenes that I would love to talk about.
Yeah.
But this isn't particularly deep.
No.
And
what about, are we going to talk about Bob at any point?
Well, that's a question. We could talk about Bob. I mean, I've got this fantastic picture of Bob from when we first meet him. But Bob kind of just has nothing to do with the story.
Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all.
So, folks, if you didn't manage to do your homework this week, Bob is a resident of Dunwich. Bob goes into a house that seems to be abandoned and finds something he thinks is weird. It looks like a mask. He then finds out and inflates it, and it's that personal service balloon, we'll call it.
You might have seen a couple of them on Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, that was weird enough. But then he's caught out by an absolutely disgusting, rotten display in the corner. And
Yeah.
I am at that point reeling over, did he know the personal service balloon was there from the start and he's caught out by that? Or is he caught out by the corpse thing? I don't really know where he is. I don't know what he's doing there. I was so confused by all of this.
I wasn't even sure if he was alive.
Mm.
I thought he might have, because I mean the way that he moved, and I mean just look at him, his eyes are all sunken, he's pale. I didn't know if he was actually one of those that had risen from the dead. By the way, Brundlefly, that is an amazing avatar.
That's got to be straight from Zombie Flesh Eaters. There's that special one that has the worms in the eye socket that looks amazing.
I love that.
It's a great
Love it.
avatar, Brundlefly.
Yeah.
And we do also love the reference to the fly here.
Absolutely.
We rated that massively highly, if I recall.
Love the fly, yeah. But yeah, I think, I mean, this scene just sort of sets up, I mean, it sets up poorly. I mean, I feel like they set it up so poorly that they have to tell you later on that Bob's a pervert. Because again, I didn't know, but like, was he one of those corpses that had risen from the grave? You know, had he OD'd or something like that? Because again, there's references to him being a bit of a druggie. Just what was his MO? But he just, like you said, he had nothing to do whatsoever with the story. He just got a bit freaked out. But you know, he was seeing visions and things like that. But then other people were too. I mean, Bob's just a poor misunderstood kid.
He was the most disturbed by it, and I'm just looking for, oh gosh, where do I have it? Like, this is so emblematic. Got it right. So there's kind of a mini storyline of people are blaming Bob for the murders and looking for him.
Yeah.
And he goes into hiding and disappears a few times. This is a short film, and that takes up a fair bit of time. Bob reappears here, and this is 57 minutes into the film. 57 minutes into the 90-minute film, we have this very attractive mechanic's daughter who comes in. How would you describe a TCG if you managed to stick with a film to this point?
She was a naughty girl. She was a very naughty girl. She had the old marijuana tucked away in an exhaust pipe, I think it was.
Yeah, herbal appreciator.
Absolutely.
Bra rejector.
Yep. Totally.
I think she's in to literally just be a bit of Totty in this one scene.
Yeah.
And he's in there looking extremely gaunt and wizened, and she's kind of like, oh, hi, doggy.
Yeah.
People are looking for you. Anyway, would you like to smoke some of my preferred herb?
That's it, yeah.
It's such a weird scene, and I do think there was just a bit of Totty. I mean, John has got a point here.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, we are going to be ripping into the storytelling, but I hope I can get you to agree that there is some impressive scene building here. Because from the very first bit that I saw that drill, I was like, something's going to happen there. They included that for a reason. That's a set piece.
They did, but the dialogue ruins it. And just the general sort of reaction to her dad seeing Bob, just stupid. Like, nobody knows for sure whether he's actually killing these people. He attacks Bob without, you could justify him, because he didn't see the whole thing, he didn't know that it was his daughter offering the weed and whatnot. And everyone says that Bob's a bit of a weirdo and a bit of a pervert. So I can understand if the dad's kicking off, assuming that Bob's the one trying to feed his daughter some, preferred herbs and, get a bit frisky. But I mean, my God, he took it to the next level. And what's stupid is while he is doing what he's doing, he's screaming murderer whilst murdering a man who hasn't been convicted of any crime. And I'm thinking, Oh, that's just stupid, isn't it?
I had a very different problem. Just that, again, 57 minutes into the movie, and I just said to waifu, after Bob has met his untimely end, having his head forced into the drill, and it's
That
nice. It's built up.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a lot. It was some really inventive gore.
Mm.
But the trouble is, I just said, yeah, we're never going to see any. We're going to see nothing else about this. We're never going to see Bob again.
No.
And it was completely right. After this, he's never mentioned again.
No, that's it. Yeah. Do you know? Again, you've seen Austin Powers, haven't you?
Mm.
You know the scene where they're I can't remember exactly where they are. I feel like it's on an ice rink or something like that. But actually no, they're not on an ice rink. But there's a steamroller coming towards this one guard that Austin Powers is driving, and the guy's like, no, and it's just going really slowly. It has that vibe. It just every death scene, every sort of moment where characters need to take action, it literally feels like I could not stop thinking about that scene from Austin Powers. No, and I'm like, come on, mate, yeah, come on, no, yeah, okay, just waiting.
Yeah, that is a bit where the sort of the difficulty with the struggle didn't go back and forth a bit over, who's going to be killed. And I mean, there was a beautiful thing in that it was so gory, so much more than I expected, that it had an effect.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, I was not connected to these characters.
No, absolutely. I will give the film credit. Some of the practical effects on this were really good. I mean, like the effects for Bob's death scene was just, yeah, that was impressive. I will give it credit for that. Even like the other death scenes, where they're grabbing the back of the heads and then like sort of crushing their skulls and pulling the brains out and other bits like that. Yeah, I thought that was impressive. Just everything else just grated me. And it's really hard to explain because, like, I know I said I didn't take anything away from this film, and I don't feel like I really did. Like, I'm having to. I think the only reason why I'm remembering stuff is because I'm literally reading through the synopsis now, the plot from Wiki, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I remember that. But I came away very blank after that film. Like, thinking about the gore and the effects now, I can be like, yeah, it was quite impressive. But in that moment, the moment after I watched that film, it just didn't even cross my mind to think back and think, did I enjoy that? It was just sort of like, what have I watched? What's me?
Yeah. How would you feel if I described? Do you think it'd be fair if I described this film as extremely disjointed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the pacing would be the right thing to sort of describe it, but it's very. I mean, for a 93-minute film, it feels a lot longer. Because it's like everything is just so slow in it. Like the build up is just so slow.
Yeah, I think it's the disjointed thing is the problem for me, because you and I, we love a bit of schlock.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's a sort of randomness to the thing and the lack of flow through that makes it very hard to connect to anything.
Yeah.
Like something as terrible as Jason Takes Manhattan does have a through line that is very consistent and you can follow.
Yeah.
Except for the dog that disappears and reappears randomly. Don't worry about the dog.
Even the Italian film that we watched the other week, like there was a through line in that film. I mean, and that one wasn't even that great. It was all right. Yeah. I think
it was much more coherent, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah. This film just lacked coherency.
There are. I think it'd be fair to describe this as very much a film of set pieces.
Yeah.
But the stuff that gets you to and from it is very difficult, and there are just some. I don't know. There are things that I'd really engage with, and I would be like laughing my butt off if I were more connected to the movie. But I was just a lot more confused by the movie.
Yeah.
So there are a few. I mean, you might be thinking of these. I'll show one example that really came to mind in sort of this is a bizarre choice, and this was one that got waifu ranting. She was very unhappy with this scene.
Okay.
So one of our main characters is this psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And he's having this session with a woman there, and then his girlfriend just comes in and interrupts the session. And everyone is fine with it. And it's like, what the heck kind of psychiatrist are you?
And not only that, but he just doesn't give a shit about anything. Oh, pardon me. But he doesn't react at all to any sort of situation.
They treat it completely normally, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, everybody sort of had a blank expression on their face when things were happening. But this dude, man, honestly, like was the worst. Like, I think a bit later on in the film, like there's an old who passes away. And like she rises from the grave and she ends up at the house at his house, and his wife calls like, "Oh my God, there's this thing going on," and he races back home and he goes in and they open a door and there she is laid out dead on the floor, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I see her, yep." And then a bit later he goes back to the room to recover a body and she's not there, and he just doesn't seem to care, and they're like, and at that point, like, get the frick out the house. Get out. And he's just like, nah, you just sit there and rest for a little bit. Nah, you're all right. It's just me. I'll go and have a look around. No, mate, get your wife, get her out the house, and don't go back in until you've performed an exorcism. Show some damn urgency, lad. And there was none of it.
It's they characters tend to not behave like humans, which is quite difficult. Makes it really quite difficult to engage with it all.
None of them do. Of them do. They stand there and they witness these like supernatural events going on right before their eyes, and they just stand there looking like cardboard cutouts.
How did you feel about because you touched over it briefly? I thought we should definitely spend a bit of time on this one. The amazing rescue scene.
Oh my God, this really pissed me off as well.
I think it's very possible that people haven't seen all the way through this one. So if people didn't do the horror homework, I get it. I found this on Shudder. So I don't know where. I hope everyone else managed to find it. It wasn't that difficult. I think we might have much more trouble with with next week's one.
Okay.
But yeah, when this was happening, I was like, we have to discuss every choice that was made in this scene.
Yeah.
However, before we get into that, I have got funds to raise, TCG. I need to remind people that to help fund the super secret amazing project, my deep coverage of the history of Blockbuster, I am supporting that project with OnlyFans. That's right. OnlyFans is the premier online site where you can insult deluded simps for Stuart Lee, still clinging on to his 90s routine, even though he's thoroughly establishment now. Oh, disgraceful. You can argue with his fans online and then post it here. Once you've devastated them, destroyed them with facts and logic, go to onlyfans.net and post the ratios.
Oh my God. You're turning into Ben Shapiro right now. You know that.
Was it a smooth shill?
It was very smooth. I said I'm interested to see how far this OnlyFans thing can go, and you're impressing him.
I like to think that was a particularly creative one.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Even I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Mate, you are a class above the rest.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where do I sign up? Have you ratioed any Stuart Lee fans recently? Share your insult here. I saw Lee today and he looked fat and miserable.
That is a little bit of an in-joke for him. I went
Oh,
to one of his shows and he complained about people writing that about him.
oh
So I
wow!
had to do it.
I was going to say, are these actual quotes? They must be.
No.
Ah,
Only the one about I saw Lee today. He looked fat and miserable. I figured his people who
only.
actually watch him would appreciate that. But
Brilliant.
yes,
What a bunch
I'll
of
stop
soggy
with
trousered
this.
hatchlings. These fake improvisation bits drag out to hide that he's got no material. Brilliant.
Moving on. So thank you. Go to onlyfans.net and you can, I'm sure, support me in some way via subscribing to that very real site. Anyway, let's go back to City of the Living Dead.
Do we have to? Can we just do OnlyFans shills for the rest of this stream? Do we have to talk about this film?
Oh, I know Mogut's got more inspiration for me.
Bruce Lee, Jet Li.
Yeah, I could do it definitely. Oh, actually, before we get into the scene, I will point out, Ugg, thank you very much, sir. Actually,
Salutes.
I did the silly thing. I saluted with the camera off. Thank you, Ugg, for your support, helping the project happen. I was literally in B&Q looking at chipboard and
Nice.
and like costing it up and being like, oh gosh, I'm going to actually have to do this. Whew. Anyway, you are helping it happen and I appreciate it. I don't know if I want to keep risking the bandwidth by being on camera, but much appreciated. I'm surprised anyone is still watching after those absolutely shocking jokes.
But they're all right. No, to be fair, I'm intrigued. I like where this OnlyFans stuff is going. Let's go. Just as long as it doesn't end on the actual thing, horror show. Don't stoop yourself to that level. Yeah.
It's a family-friendly stream. Let me tell you.
I mean, you could open up an OnlyFans, but just purely promote family-friendly content on there, like wholesome traditional values and all that jazz.
So just start one with me baking.
Basically, yeah, you could do.
Oh, fine. I like it. Anyway, let's talk about this scene because this scene is just absolutely marvelous. Could you set the scene for everyone, TCG?
Right. Okay. So this was the lady who everybody thought had died after the séance. So they go to I don't know. Well, yeah. They go to the scene sort of starts in the graveyard and her coffin's being lowered down into the grave and you've got these two workers and they're just like, you know, typical. They were like the Plan 9 from outer space workers, basically. You know, they didn't really give a monkeys about the job, but you know, they had a job to do regardless. So they start like filling up the grave. Gets to 5 o'clock and they're like, okay, time's up, let's go. The journo's like, oh, hold on, lads, you know, shouldn't you fill it up? And he's like, you can do it if you want. And then they bugger off. And so he walks off. The journo does, contemplating life, I assume. And lo and behold, the woman wakes up and she's buried alive inside the coffin. And so of course she starts screaming and starts panicking, starts scratching at the coffin lid. And the journalist hears this and he sort of turns around, but then there's some background noise, like a plane flies overhead, and he sort of thinks to himself, was that? No, it couldn't have been. Turns around and then, you know, she starts screaming again and he's like, whoa, hold on a minute. Turns around. And then like some other sound, like a car driving past, happens. And he's like, I don't know. Could it have been? Oh, I better turn around. And it mustn't have been. Must be in my imagination. Here's the screaming again. And you're thinking, come on, mate, do something. And he just sort of goes, nah. And then he starts to walk. He goes to, each time he goes to take a step, he hears something. He turns back around. Sometimes he doesn't hear anything. He just turns around. And after about 20 minutes of doing this, she goes absolutely schizo, and he's like, okay, there's someone in there still, but the person who's in there is alive. So he runs over, grabs a pickaxe.
I mean, can I pause you? Because like up to that point, I was actually somewhat into it.
No, I
felt for her. Did you not feel for her?
I felt for her.
The panic worked for me.
I felt for her, but again, his reaction, his response time was just pathetically slow. And like, I don't know what the camera angles were doing, but they were doing this like, I mean, throughout this film, they do really weird, unnecessary close-up shots of people, and it just really threw me. I did feel for her though. I will say, like, I mean, the thought of being buried alive, absolutely horrific.
I thought she sold that quite well. Like the nastiness of clawing inside the coffin and her desperation. I was actually brought in. I did feel a bit tense, even if there was cheesiness. And I don't think we've mentioned it as much, but we got to remember this is Giallo. Everything is overdubbed.
Yeah.
And a lot of these actors were delivering their performances in Italian and then just getting dubbed over by a different English actor.
Was there, hang on a sec, was there actually that many Italian actors in this? Because I really only...
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to lip read, but the only one I could think of that was Italian that I could easily tell was the old sort of like psychic lady.
Yeah. So you've got... we got Antonella Intelenghi, Giovanni Lombardo Redici, Daniela Doria, Fabrizio Giovini, was a priest, by the way, Luca Venantini, Michael Suave, Venantini. Yeah, it's Italians all over the place.
Right. Okay.
But I wasn't sure, but I really, really noticed the dubbing in this one. John Garris is on my side. Thank you. It was working for me. I did feel like a sort of... I wanted to scream at him to get her out, and I was on her side.
I want to try and be fair, okay? Because I think this could... Yeah, I mean, it could have gone either way. I mean, there was a moment where you kind of think, yeah, he's going to turn around and sort of, just ignore her, and she's going to like die alive. Or die alive, what am I talking about? Die inside the coffin, and that in itself is horrific. But I just... And of course, like when he does finally do something, he grabs the pickaxe and starts like swinging it at towards her face. And there's like 3 times where it like misses her. I mean, you see in that picture there, it misses her by like inches. That when he started doing that worked for me, because I'm thinking like after all that, he's gonna be the one that ends her. But what threw me was just the amount of time that he took to react. If after like if it was like after the first 2 times and he was sort of like, I'm not too sure, and then they went and then it sort of picks up from the bit where he's like, right, call to act, then this would have been a great scene for me. But the problem with this film is it takes so much time in actually getting characters to do something that by the time he did something, my enjoyment, my involvement in that scene had already sort of wavered heavily.
I'm just finding myself checking who edited. Okay, so it was edited by Vincenzo Tomasi. I'm wondering if a lot of it is just the editing really slowing it down, because I think a lot of the framing in this is really strong. Like Fulci knows how to frame a scene, but the pacing can be so off.
Yeah.
But I just felt there's something is getting lost in translation, where it just ends up being a bit ridiculous that he is choosing to swing a pickaxe at her head.
Well, yeah, I mean, naturally, I think if you're going to do something like that, you probably go for a bit of a, But although, to be fair, like, does he know which side? I don't know if he knows what side the top side would be. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of justification why he would swing the pickaxe towards her face. But I mean, I think it'd be pretty obvious to tell which side's which.
Let's see. So she was English, Catriona McCall, and Christopher George, American. Do we say Adelaide Asti, Luciano Rossi, Nima Parvini, Enzo Docilio, loads of Italians.
Right.
Loads of Italians outside. I could be talking about Italians for days.
I'm sure you could.
It does end up being a bizarre scene, and it just, unfortunately, the setup's kind of cool, but it does end up going into ridiculous territory. And then it sort of transitions out of that to a suddenly very calm setup where they're just having tea.
Yeah. It's like, mate, you know, you nearly pickaxed my head off. Like, what you do? You know, just dude. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I can understand why people would think this was a great scene, or like, you know, in terms of the suspense. And I suppose it depends on how much patience you have for the scene to actually sort of kick in. But yeah, I just felt like the initial suspense bit just took too long. Because
sorry, mate, go ahead.
No, I was to say, because again, it just gets to a point where I was like, mate, make a decision. You know, I didn't care which decision he made. Like, I just like, just do something, because it was every time he never actually takes a step and moves forward. It just like he'd go to take a step and then he'd turn back, go to step. I was getting really frustrated with that. It's like, just please do something, and then eventually he does it, and then actually it does work. I was kind of like, oh god, oh my god, he's gonna hit the face. Oh no, he got her out. Okay, excellent. But you could have done that like 45 seconds ago.
On the good side of things, we're also seeing a strong stylistic element in terms of the obsession with eyes. We mentioned that last time when we were covering zombie flesh eaters. It's also the same composer as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same guy, Fabio Frizzi.
Gotcha. Never had him. Even though you probably mentioned him a couple of weeks ago.
And so, I just thought he did a really good job, and I noticed it was the same chap. And I felt like he had taken a bit of inspiration from the Halloween soundtrack. Like, you know, I mean, chat, tell me if I'm mad. There was a few bits where he had those, like, would you call them a sting? It would be the noise that you would get when you get a brief sighting of Michael Myers. It would go like that.
I
can't do it, but yes, that's exactly the one.
Yeah.
I felt that had been put into the soundtrack a bit here. And this is coming out like 2 years after Halloween. So I just wondered, had that filtered through maybe?
Do you know what? I think I'd have to go back and listen to it again. Because again, like, I mean, I think from what I can remember of the score, it did sort of, it did seem to fit quite well. But I
thought the score was a high point, to be honest. I liked that. And in terms of the giallo genre conventions, I did mention the obsession with eyes, which I think is quite glorious.
Is that quite? Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. So we have this great shot at the start before Mary is scared to death, with the priest, her getting a vision of the priest hanging.
Yeah.
And I thought that looked lovely. And then we've got a recurring motif. The priest is able to make their eyes bleed. Although it may be a pain in the butt for me to locate the specific image. Got it. I don't know if Susan's going to like this, but she's just going to have to lump it. So this was an interesting bit that felt like it was kind of straight out of a Friday the 13th to me. So we have a scene where a couple of teenagers are parked up somewhere nice and private so they can become a bit more intimately acquainted with each other. It is a chance to show them macking, as I gather they say. And even,
macking.
You know, getting a cheeky handful of bubbage.
Getting their groove on, yeah.
Why not? And then they're interrupted as you would, and this did feel just like very, very American, very Friday the 13th. You know, their little makeout session is interrupted by her getting a case of the willies, you know. And she sees a vision, and then they check, and it is the hanging priest. And they're freaked out by it massively. I mean, this is not Lovecraftian at all. The attempt to make this Lovecraftian, my goodness. Anyway, they have this vision. It appears suddenly via a cut. Then it disappears, and suddenly the priest is by the side of the car, and just by looking at the girl, he gets her eyes bleeding. And I thought this effect, as well as the strong contrast there of the blood and her face, you've got that real close up on the eyes as well that looks very striking.
Yeah, I did like this effect.
Yeah.
How did they do that? They're just like
I was looking at it because it looks like it's really uncomfortable because it's actually on her eyes.
That's it, yeah. And I thought to myself, like, are they? I don't know. Is that something like? Is there something covering the eyes to protect them? And like, I don't know. I did wonder. Because I mean,
because suspect she suffered, and she's got her hair framed. Her fringes or curtains are very close to the edge of the eyes.
Yeah.
And I think they are hiding a little bit of just a tube.
Yeah,
that's feeding directly in, and she's at an angle where it hopefully just gets quite far before dripping down.
I mean, because that is making her eyeball, like the lower half of her eyeball, just red raw.
Well, you can tell it's sort of dyeing the eye. That's a dye, and it kind of reminds me a bit of Clockwork Orange, where they built the contraption that fitted inside Malcolm McDowell's eyes and stopped him closing them, like they're pinning his eyes open. And they didn't fake it; they literally did it. They gave him morphine drops and had to water his eyeballs for him.
Wow!
But the guy, that's not an effect. They just literally did it. But he woke up in agony in the small hours of the night.
I'm not surprised.
From that, I think she probably had a similar problem getting that stuff out her eyes.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, other than the tubes on the sides, which were like obscured by the shadows and, like you say, the hair placement, I can't see how there would be not even contacts or something like that just to protect the eyes. Because I mean, look at the picture; they're quite clearly not being protected if it's staining the white of the eye. I tell you what, man, the struggles that you put in for your craft, eh?
1970s, 1980s Italian productions were sort of not produced under the most rigorous regulation. So I think they just sort of just did this, they just did it. And, junior actors probably have to sort of suffer through, I'm afraid to say.
Can I mention, and this is just a little comparison that I had, and it is the loosest of loose comparisons, right? But sort of going back to Bob, he was getting all those visions, right? And then he starts seeing the priest, the hanging priest, right? There's one bit, right? One little moment where he's walking down, I don't know if it's like a path or an alley or anything like that. I can't quite remember. But then out of nowhere, the hanging priest just pops out of nowhere. My mind instantly went to The Haunting of Hill House with Nell.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether his face,
Mike Flanagan,
that's it. I did sort of wonder myself, did he get, just for that little moment in that TV series, did he?
It is quite powerful, actually. It was obviously achieved by cutting and quick cuts.
Yeah.
But there are limitations of the day. There are some cuts that they hit incredibly well. But, I don't know. I'd be surprised, but it was effective, and I thought the bleeding eyes was very effective. I put it away because I think Maverick was having trouble with that one.
I mean,
because
it affected me, but not for the reasons why the film would think it was. Because I just instantly drew my mind towards that particular scene, that particular relationship with Nell and the bent neck lady, and after seeing that, I could just think about that, and it didn't not that it didn't work for me. It was just I remember I got a reaction for very different reasons. Like, oh my god, still no with Bob the weirdo, but it was more like, oh my god, that really reminds me of that horrible scene in that relationship between the bent neck lady and Nell.
Yeah. Alas, yeah. Do you find just? I think that's going to be quite a recurring theme. Is just like, oh, that was quite powerful. If I cared about anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew what was going on. I was
it's
thinking.
Like, I didn't care about Bob, but I kind of like Nell.
Yeah. I found myself thinking of Harrian, you know?
Oh no.
My brain went to little Harrian, and I thought, if he were here, he would be losing his mind at this point. And it was exactly this scene, by the way, that
okay,
and it's just a thing of the priest can appear. This scene establishes the priest can appear anywhere.
Yeah.
And the priest can kill you just by looking at you.
Yep.
And ghosts can kill you by just grabbing the back of your head and ripping it off in quite a creative, it is creative.
It is.
Grabbing the skull, crushing it so brains fall out.
Doesn't look very
I don't think I've seen any other movie do that. I can't think of another movie.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Michael Myers likes to crush skulls every now and then, but it's not as graphic, admittedly.
It's not just like a one-handed grab.
No.
But it did get me thinking, like, there is no way the protagonists can win because the ghosts are basically too strong to be defeated. They can appear anywhere at any time. So I just thought if the protagonists manage to achieve anything, it's going to be pure ghost incompetence.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's just what Harrian would say if he were here right now.
Well, he doesn't need to be the one to say it, because I thought like, what is the point? Like, why? Just they could literally flash in and out of existence like at a whim, and like you say, all they needed to do was just give them a look, and it was complete, utter, to use Harrian's word, retardation, pants on head logic that they to win the day. Well, yeah, win the day, I suppose. I
mean, in fairness, at this point, which is like 40 minutes into the movie, the protagonists really haven't got into position or worked out what was going on.
They're nowhere near.
I don't know how it was, how long it actually was, but it felt like about 45 minutes of kind of disconnected random scenes of these killings.
Yeah.
Before the protagonists get around, like there's a scene that really made me think back to The Haunted Palace. That was the Roger Corman adaptation of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, if you remember that had Vincent Price in it.
Yes, I do remember that one.
Yeah. There's that scene of the locals in the tavern, and I even thought, hang on, is that the same bartender? I haven't actually looked it up, but I thought that guy looks just like the bartender.
That would be pretty cool.
And then they get mogged by creepy ghosts, and it's like,
yeah,
they are so completely isolated from the rest of the film that you could cut them out, and you would miss nothing.
Correct. Yeah, spot
on. So that is the big problem of this, is it is a lot of extremely isolated killings. I don't want to be mean to the film here, but just a comparison to Fulci's previous but one film, Zombie Flesh Eaters. The doctor on the island, his wife is killed.
Mm-hmm.
She basically only has 2 scenes, but it's sort of okay because she is integrated into the narrative.
Yeah.
And there's a mini arc for her. We find out she's extremely unhappy and desperate to leave, but she's left by the doctor because he's got his obsessive calling, trying to keep everything going. So she's left on her own. She's then killed as by one of the zombies, and she is then discovered later because the doctor sends the protagonist to come and look for her. So there is an arc there.
Yeah,
she's
there's
integrated into the story.
There's a conflict there that needs resolving, and obviously it's resolved through her death. You know, you're not going anywhere now, love. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That she wasn't in the film at all, pretty much. But the scenes that she was in mattered because it it helped the story move along overall. Whereas, yeah, the guys in the bar were completely separate from the main story. Although I'm trying to think if, but then you know the same for Bob as well. You know,
Bob is a tiny bit integrated in that multiple people mention him and want to look for him, but once Bob is killed off, he's never mentioned again, and literally nothing comes of it.
No, but then equally, you know, like the police officer at the beginning as well.
Oh,
he
hang on. I should actually get him up actually, because I thought he was cool, and I've got a photo of him. Where is he? And Coolio only gets a couple of minutes here in the scene.
I love the cop behind him as well, man.
Yeah.
Geezer looks like he's seen better days. But
I do feel bad. This guy was great. He comes in, he adds a whole load of energy to the scene, and he gets to stay quite cool and focused while everyone else has a different, especially the cop on the left is a bit of a bumbling guy, and it helps get the distinction between the detective and him, and that's nicely done. Yeah, and this is framed well as well.
Yeah, I mean, as ridiculous and funny as I found this scene, I thought, you know, I would have been interested to see more of the investigation. I mean, bless this guy. No pun intended, but he got shafted.
He really was. Yeah, I mean, do you think he's designed to look a bit like Richard Roundtree? I'm so scared of mentioning
maybe. I mean,
now. Was it Richard Roundtree?
Well, I know Samuel L. Jackson did it later on in life, so
I'm going to check.
But you know, I feel like, you know, he could star in his own series of films called Shafted, where he just pops up for one scene and he's going to investigate a situation and then just never appear in the film. But yeah, they missed. I think they missed a trick with this guy, not appearing at all after the film, because there was a good angle to go there. You know, he could have worked with the journalist. He could have been the one to deep dive and, you know, because he was skeptical of the situation. You know, he didn't believe it, and you know there's a story there to be told where, you know, he's slowly but surely won around to the idea that actually, yes, All Saints Day, you know, that the gates of hell are open, and you know, through, you know, a series of supernatural experiences that he either witnesses or learns through his investigation, he sort of comes around to the idea that, okay, Afro lady in the back, you ain't talking malarkey. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what needs to be done. But they decide to go with a random journo, and they brought back a spirit medium from the dead. Should have been this guy.
I know it would have been. He would have been a nice presence in it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I mean, I raised that element of the disconnection because I was trying to find the word for it, and I couldn't. I still can't quite get it right. But this film has affectations of Lovecraftianism, and in a Lovecraft story, you never really get what's going on. It's insinuated. Your characters are always out of their depth and only getting glimpses of something. And you could just say, like, well, isn't that what's happening here? No one ever really understands what's going on, and they're all defeated by it, and etc. etc. And I'm just like, there just feels like there's more of a coherence behind Lovecraft that I don't feel is in this.
I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, can't quite justify it, but that's what it feels like the distinction is.
I mean, if the blank expressions on these morons' faces throughout this film, right, whenever they were seeing anything supernatural, was the director's way of trying to convey that they just couldn't comprehend what was going on right in front of them, that's fine, but you'd still have a reaction, an extreme reaction. I mean, if you saw a, ghost zombie pop up in front of your face, horror show, you ain't going to understand what's going on, but you're going to out and you're going to want to get away from it,
I know one thing they really wanted to get away from. Maggots.
OnlyFans? Oh, mate. Talk about
I don't
another
have
scene
another
that goes
OnlyFans. I could only think of 3.
Right, chat. We need to get some OnlyFans ideas, and Horror Show, I'm sure we'll pick the best of the bunch, and either bring them on here on a future stream, or raid them on one of my Friday quiz streams. So get going, get the ideas flowing, chat. Come on, let's brainstorm.
Yeah, if you can think of the horrific pun, I will make it. After all, we did do. Need I remind you that we where is it? Which one?
Oh God.
Need I remind you we did this one? So, anyway, so I think we have to cover it because this was so special here. And I don't know if you had the same response I did, but can we talk the maggot scene?
Yeah, sure. Again, this is one of those scenes where it's like, for me, it was just initially when it happens, I'm like, oh my God, that is horrible. And like, they are real maggots. They're not like, in my mind, after this scene happened, I was like, where the hell did they get all those maggots from? Like,
yeah, we should clarify, this is really far into the film.
Yeah.
And it's about the first time that our 4 main, I guess you would say, protagonists.
Yeah.
The woman on the left, it's a bit more dubious, but she's basically in the group of protagonists. They just get together and they don't get to do much before there's suddenly a spooky noise at the window, and then suddenly they are pelted with a seemingly endless stream of maggots.
Yeah.
So if you see this and you're saying like, oh, hang on, what? Wait, what do you mean maggots? I'm confused. We were all confused, okay? Everyone was confused. And I've got these screen grabs. Like, I feel they got so much footage from this that they were thinking, yeah, I've got to get it all in. We can't waste a single frame of this. It's too good. Where is my number 14? Because there's one that feels quite candid. Like, the actress just looks a bit defeated. Like she's really thinking.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, I know which one you mean. But yeah. While you're looking for that, again, just my again.
Why did I do this?
Oh man, what has my agent got me into? But I just
thought she's like more maggots. Hit her again.
Yeah, but again, like for me, this was like the initial shock of it was impactful. And don't get me wrong, like this is horrible, but it just, for me, it just goes on too long until afterwards, until eventually I'm at a point where I'm like, right, okay, surely we should be moving on with the story now. Oh no, there's still more maggots. Yeah, this is still gross. Yeah, okay, yeah, just move on now. Move on. Oh God, more maggots. Okay, yeah. It's like
it just keeps going until everything is covered in maggots.
Yeah, it's just like one of those scenes where you like the comedy movies or something, like where you get someone doing like the projectile vomiting, like the really over exaggerated one, and then like Team America, for example, where it just goes on and on and on.
I actually got reminded of do you know that clip that the Critical Drinker always uses from there's like the teens and they're on the floor covered in sewage?
Oh, I think is it that 70s show? I think
it might
I don't
be.
Think but I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
it really reminded me of that, and that the actors just look so defeated, and they're just immediately trying to push all the maggots out there.
I mean, it's gross. Like, I tell you what, my hat's off to that weird psychiatrist dude, because when the phone rings and he goes to pick it up, he wipes some of the maggots off. I mean, my man puts it against his ear. I was thinking,
Yeah. We've got an interesting question here, Brundlefly. We are watching Suspiria in 2 weeks. So that's for our stream on the 20th. So I'm going to be watching out for that reference to maggots in Suspiria. Unfortunately, it's just been so long since I've seen it, I don't remember. I'm also very aware that we're actually going to have to do a lot more giallo because there are so many, and I really struggled to choose. So I don't know if we're just going to do another, like an obscure giallo arc, or maybe just a Dario Argento arc, but there's a lot more we have to cover. But yeah, I really enjoyed that he just wiped the maggot phone off. And then
yeah, like casually. Again, like everything everything all characters do in this film, just does it casually as you like.
Yeah, with a sense of weary resignation, like they've just been defeated after 2 hours of being pelted with maggots.
Thanks, John. John Goris just confirmed that scene that you're talking about that Critical Drinker uses from Not Another Teen Movie. Awesome.
John Goris, you have seen an impressive array of movies. I would not have thought that you would be the chap who knows Not Another Teen Movie, but you surprise me, John, every week.
I tell you what, we've got some real knowledge in this chat, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, chat, you pick us up on a lot, and it's appreciated. We do our best here, but I freely admit I focus a bit on this, but there's so much to learn. So I'm going to miss some stuff, and I really appreciate having a chat who is so informed on this stuff. You guys are amazing. I'm very lucky that you are here in these streams. You make it a better stream. So we have the maggot phone. I also, if we're talking oddities, there was a character you liked and I liked. Your favorite little guy.
Which one?
We meet him first in the funeral home. Oh gosh, where is he? I can't even find it. I've got so many screen caps of this. And I'm still looking. Oh, I've got him.
Yay.
It's your boy, John.
Oh, John. Oh, for God's sake.
Except when they first said his name, I heard Jar Jar. And so I was thinking that the whole time.
Mr. John. Misa sister come to kill us.
Can we have a Jar Jar talking about maggots in the phone?
Mr. Jar Jar like the maggots. It's good for the fishing.
Oh no. There is always a bigger fish. Yeah, this was special. I mean, he's fine. He's fine. His name is pronounced in an interesting way. For all the silliness in this movie, there is some interesting stuff in there. Like, it's disconnected. It's awkward. The dubbing is weird, but there's some really cool stuff in here, mostly around framing and style. Right. So we've got that one image, but of little John there, which does feel like someone taking the mick out of an American. But you've got a really cool shot like this, the stalker cam.
Sorry, I've got to say this just because Bilbo's typed it in the chat. We sat in big doodle this time.
Oh no. Brundlefly, do you rate that one? So for people who don't know, Don't Torture a Duckling is also a Fulci. It's before this. I was tempted out. I think that's the one that's meant to be most closely inspired by Argento. I think it was meant to be very closely taking on, copying the style of, is it the girl with the crystal plumage? I can't remember the name of it. I'm going to have to look at it. I'll look it up because it's Lady with the Crystal Plumage. I'm gonna look it up now because it's driving me mad.
Wait.
Has someone got it in chat already?
They'll tell us in about 20 seconds when it catches up.
Bird with the Crystal Plumage. There we go.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was 1970, and Don't Torture a Duckling was 72. Yeah.
Blimey.
It was tempting. I did consider it. But I sort of thought if I was going to do that, I'd have to do the bird with the crystal plumage as well. And I've seen a few other horror channels have covered that. So I'm a little hesitant about it. That's why we're trying to do Black Belly of the Tarantula next, to try and do something that people aren't covering very much.
Right.
But yeah, I got this up just because I really like this shot.
It's a good shot. I think having little John in here does sort of add some sort of element of danger to, because I will say this, and this is a good thing about the film. I did genuinely feel there were periods in this movie where they were going to put him in like quite fatal positions. I did feel like they wouldn't have any qualms about killing off a kid in this movie.
No, definitely not. He is very endangered.
Yeah,
this is strong stuff. Him in the bedroom, through these shots of the windows and the door, you get the sense like, okay, he's in an enclosed space, but there are all these gaps. He's actually very exposed, and they sort of make him feel more and more vulnerable as they go, until ultimately they deliver the spooky shot of what's watching him. And I thought this was actually genuinely a really good scene, and it's helping develop that idea of the stalker cam. So, the kind of thing that turned up in every slasher really comes straight from this type of movie. Yeah. And I really like that. There was also another great shot that is absolutely classic. If there are any Romero fans in chat, especially especially Creepshow, any fans of Creepshow, TCG? Do you remember that?
Did we watch that?
No, we haven't done Creepshow yet. I think we will if we do anthologies.
Yeah,
but this shot.
I don't think I've seen Creepshow.
Okay, well, there's this thing of the really strong, kind of like lurid background colors.
Yeah, it does look
so
good.
Stylistic, not attempting to look natural, just looking striking.
Yeah.
This is in the bar, by the way. This is about the only image I took from the bar because it just had nothing to do with the plot. So,
no.
Oh dear.
No, it's good though. But then you get all these other random ghosts. I don't know, what are they? Zombies, ghosts? Like, what are they? I mean,
I think that's the question. Is we never really find out, and the rules don't. They seem like spirits because they can just move everywhere. But then, kind of very disappointingly at the end, the answer is you just stab them.
Yeah,
and that felt like such a letdown. Like
I was
a massive letdown to me. Like, oh, just stab him.
Yeah, I'm so on your side with that. When they, when I think it's this one, isn't it? Is it Emily? Is her name Emily? Either way, when she gets stabbed, and then it is Emily. Yeah, and then she just goes down and dies. I was like, oh, I thought she was gonna just look at the guy and do some shit, basically. Sorry. But yeah, she just drops to the floor dead, and I'm like, oh, that's not very zombie of you.
It's really not. Like, I've got to say, for all the we are sort of skipping back past stuff because a lot of it feels fairly random. Like the central mystery is they've got to find the body of the priest, and it's like, I don't know, did you try the graveyard? And they go there, and then they go anywhere else, and then ultimately come back to the graveyard. It's sort of
yeah.
When they climb down, it's kind of effective. It's kind of interesting, and then they're getting bitten, and their heads are getting crushed, and you can kind of respect it. I said, they don't have a chance of winning because we've established that these ghosts can kill you without touching you and can appear anywhere and are ridiculously strong. And they do kind of pay off, They do that, and they take out two of the main characters.
Yeah. Oh, Bilbo's just said, I've noticed YouTube
Oh,
has put Halloween H2O
hang
under
on.
this video for me.
Oh, I love that. I unironically, I absolutely love Halloween H20.
YouTube is saying, bring back Josh Hartnett.
See, now I know you're ribbing me just for my slight, my very subtle preference for a certain Josh Hartnett.
Mate, the
I
biggest
barely mention it.
The biggest crime of this reboot was that they unbirthed Josh Hartnett's character.
I know. They completely wrecked him. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis was being asked about her in the other continuity, the Halloween 4 continuity. She has a daughter called Danny. And we're talking about, can we bring Danny in? And it's like, oh gosh, terrible. Yeah, we get to the end, and it's just, unfortunately, after all this build up, the solution is it takes ages for our psychiatrist guy to just say, oh, now I could try stabbing him, and then that works. And it's just so frustrating because are they zombies or ghosts?
What is absolute dog toilet about this scene, right? Is they're literally some of these zombies or ghosts or whatever you want to call them, and like there's no. Again, they don't seem remotely bothered. I mean, look at their faces. I mean, they don't seem remotely bothered. I mean, he just looks completely nonplussed. Just he's sort of looking around, thinking, oh, you know, just casually as anything. Like, oh, okay, and then he just grabs some. He grabs the crucifix or the giant cross. But like none of the other zombies or ghosts or again whatever try and stop him, try and restrain him.
It is very much you know, we're at 89 minutes, guys, you know, so the big boss man priest, who admittedly you don't really see doing much. He appears as an apparition, but he's not especially active, but he does just let himself be stabbed.
Yeah.
And so like that'll do it. And when we get on to Dario Argento, we may notice a theme of it's time to end things, so we'll set it on fire.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Yeah.
If you're gonna steal from the best, right?
Oh my god, you just reminded me about how dumb this was as well.
Tell everyone about it. Set us up for where we are when this occurs.
So our weird psychiatrist, doesn't seem to like understand the urgency of any situation. Psychiatrist geezer, so he's just stabbed the head honcho with the crucifix. Congratulations, you've saved the day. You've closed Hell's Gates on All Saints Day. You know, never ever have I ever felt so low watching this movie. But sneaky little All Saints reference there. But then afterwards he starts to he bursts into flames, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, they're gonna let's see how they handle the fire effects, and they don't even bother to try hiding the stunt double in the fire suit or whatever you call it. It's just dumb, full, like in the full body suit with the old the hood protecting the face and the head and everything. It's like you can tell that this dude's wearing like 6 layers of protective layering to not get burnt. And then they'll cut, and then they'll cut to this like weird bit where he's quite clearly standing behind a fire, or they've got he's quite clearly standing behind a fire because like the flames are quite clearly burning at the front, or they've sort of like separated the film lines or whatever. Just putting this like weird sort of like, it looks like he's nutting kind of face, going
no TCG no,
and then they pan it back to like all the other ones going, and to be fair, some of them are all right. They quite clearly set fire to some sort of like models and whatnot. That's fine. I can get by that. But then and then they'll pan back to the priest, and he's still wearing the full like body fire protective suit and head's covered up and everything. It's like there's no effort to hide that completely. I mean, if my immersion wasn't already broken anyway, this just absolutely destroyed it.
Alas. Oh, yeah. There have been some really great effects in this. It's something I'm not going to be able to criticize Fulci for. He is inventive with the gore.
Like I can,
but I've got to say that fire was disappointing.
Like I mean,
we have had a really good tip here from Brundlefly. Good shout, guys.
Oh, okay.
There you go. 3-month trial for that Arrow video player. So I'm guessing it's Arrow DVDs. And yeah, apparently loads of the classic gels are on there. That is super helpful and much appreciated. Thank you for the tip.
But yeah, I mean, like I can appreciate the effort where the effort's been made, but I mean, when did the original thing come out? And I'm not talking about the 80s one. Was it like 1959?
Oh no, it's like 53 or something.
53.
Do you mean the thing from another planet?
Yeah, well,
the thing from another world.
The one that you showed us like a few months back, where they did the fire scene.
Oh, 1951.
1951. Like,
wasn't
I mean,
too far off.
You're 29 years removed, right? And they did a better job on that than this. And I think just knowing that, I think what is it like? Even with like Friday the 13th as well. In one of them, he gets set on fire, and it's not too far away from this period. And I get it, budget constraints and stuff like that. I can totally see like if budgets were a problem, but then like. I'm sorry, if I was making this film, right, and I was looking at the final cut and I saw this, I'd just be like, no, don't include the bits with the stunt double. Sorry for setting your balls on fire, mate. I appreciate the effort, but it's just not going to work. Just with the priest, behind the fire and give it that sort of effect. Oh, he's on fire. Oh, right. And then sort of cut to the scenes where you've got like the models, but just don't. It just ruined it, man. It
was a very awkward thing to end on, even if it's quite beautiful having a generally blue scene here contrasted with the flame. I'm afraid, the effects were a bit weak. And awkwardly, the priest, his death starts off amazing.
Yeah.
Even if story-wise it's bad, he gets impaled, the thing comes out, he's got a massive gaping hole through him.
Yeah.
This is something we've really just started doing when you've got CGI to fill in that hole. But they did it with a smooth effect. And it just pans up from this gap in his body that you can see through.
Yeah.
And it goes straight up to his face. I'm like, I didn't see a cut there. That was amazing.
Yeah, and you know what as well? It's kind of reminiscent from the scene earlier that you talked about where those two teenagers were getting it on. And, when he's staring in the eyes of that girl and like her insides start coming out of her mouth. Remember that?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That was brilliant. Like the effects that were used there were brilliant. And yeah, when his guts are all falling out after being stabbed with the crucifix, it looked great. And then it just went right downhill. When they tried to make the fire effect, it just went a bit too. They got a bit too ambitious, and again, I appreciate it, and I can understand if there was like budget constraints, but I don't know, man. If I was, like I said, if I was watching that back on the final cut, how long are we gonna, what do we keep, what do we get rid of? I would have got rid of parts of this particular bit of that death scene. That's right, Gatsby.
Yes, Gatsby.
Thank you.
Also point out, Brundlefly, you are absolutely correct. It was part 7. That was Kane Hodder's. Jason had the record for it, and it is an amazing scene. We
covered it, didn't we, when we talked about it? I think we actually compared. That was one of the burns that we showed. Didn't that stream get a bit?
We had a problem. I mean, I'm not going to risk it for this one, but I'll tell you, if you don't remember, guys, the topic was about how you do these fire stunts. And one of the big factors you have is you slather your actor in gel, that a clear gel, so you can see their features, but it's fire retardant gel. And I have a photo of a guy with this gel all over his face.
It doesn't look like gel.
It looks like he's just passed the most brutal hazing for a rugby team ever. The San Francisco rugby team, if you will, but it's just flame retardant gel, but YouTube sees it and thinks there's something very naughty in it.
It might be
YouTube
the fact that
doesn't
you're
care
just
about
saying
fire
retardant.
safety. Maybe Twitter had a problem with it as well.
Now that amazes me that the Twitter that openly hosts and has lots and lots of that naughty over 18 blue material had a problem with a bit of flame retardant gel.
Well, you know what's weird? So I obviously follow the horror film topic, and it almost never recommends me horror films. But it had some woman. I'm going to have to be careful how I describe it. There's a TV in the background with a horror film on, but that's in the background. It's mostly her standing up, wearing a borderline see-through black dress, and it's like closed up on her nether regions, and you just see the silhouette of some very anatomical features.
I see.
And I was like, I just want to know about horror films. Gosh darn it. And she's advertising anyway. And I tried to report it, and I couldn't report it. I couldn't see how you report it for just being pure filth.
Well, when Elon Musk takes over, Twitter will no longer be pro-prawn. Because at the moment, Twitter is definitely pro-prawn, anti-fire safety.
I know. I want to see people with their faces cut apart by machetes vomiting out their guts. Not filth like porn. Honestly. Sort yourself out, Twitter. Someone tipped me off that my video I'm really proud of, pro and anti-abortion messages in horror movies. That gets hit with one of those infamous Wikipedia clarifications.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you go on my abortion symbolism video, it's got that Wikipedia warning.
Oh, my God.
If you've seen it, you would like back me up on this. I'm not pushing any viewpoint in that. I literally talk about both sides of the messaging.
I've watched that video, and I have to say, like, that you couldn't be more balanced if you possibly tried. And like, yeah, we've all got an opinion, I'm sure, but yeah, I think that was a really balanced. Yeah, I've watched this, and it's amazing. Like, you couldn't tell what your position was.
Well, it's good because I went out of my way to make sure I was not even just like checking, like, have I made jokes that are going too far in one way or another?
I mean, that means, to be fair, that's even if you hold a position, like if you care enough about, like, if you care enough to sort of, because I mean, I'm not overtly like political or anything like that, but I'm sure there are people that would have strong feelings either way about, and no, I'm not just saying that topic, but I mean, even your Matrix one where you talked about wow, I can't remember what her name is, Wachowski's.
I think it's Lily.
Lily, that's the one.
Lily Wachowski in that video.
Coming out and saying that film was actually sort of like a trans allegory, but and some dickheads online can't tell what a nuanced argument is. It was a fair assessment, looking at it from another side, just proposing a different position, not being rude, not being horrible.
Oh,
it was a very balanced and fair sort of counterpoint, if you will, because obviously other people have had, again, your opinion of that could be different to the actual topic, but you were presenting that, although it's not. But you presented that in what I felt like was a fair way, and you're very good at that sort of stuff. You're very good at doing that.
It gets people raging, but yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, mate.
It's fine. I just want to bring the stream back to the film, or more specifically to the fire effects, and just sort of highlight Enrieb's comment. Yes, face like a plasterer's radio. Brilliant, that.
It really is. It really is. It's quite special.
You have to go back and look at the stream to find out exactly what we're referring to.
Yeah. Yeah, as you say, it's an awkward way to end it, but it gets more awkward, doesn't it?
Again, remind me.
I know. It's difficult to. So they escape from the crypt.
Yep.
And we got our boy John is back.
Yep. Like, what's going on? Is he dead now? Is he a baddie? Is what?
literally, they get out the crypt, they've stabbed the priest, all the zombies are burned, so the gates from hell should be closed, although it is also All Saints Day, so possibly they were too late.
Well,
Either
actually, I
way,
think they did, didn't they? They did say that because
yeah.
they do sort of mention like, oh my god, it's All Saints Day, and they hadn't
Mm.
like resolved it at that point. So yeah,
So it's ambiguous, and it's fine if they don't make it. That's kind of cool. They shouldn't have been able to win, but the trouble is there's just nothing to tell you what's going on here. They get out. John runs up to them. It's all celebratory. He's doing his little how can I say, Epstein Baywatch moment, running to them in slow motion.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's all happy, and then suddenly our remaining two adults, Mary and the psychiatrist, just suddenly look horrified, and then this kind of necrotic effect comes over the screen. But there's no indication at all what the heck is happening here.
This is where the budget got blown.
I think it is. It's almost like the footage didn't work, and they just...
we'll put a crack in it. It'll be fine. No one will notice.
Apparently, Fulci was not happy with the original ending.
Which was?
I don't know. There is no record of it.
Oh, wow.
I looked for it, what actually happens.
So ashamed of it that he decides to lock it up in a vault next. Let's not go there.
Oh dear. It is just a really weird way for it to end. It's completely incoherent, and then oh dear.
I didn't like this.
I figured that.
Mm.
Yeah, the Enriab, yeah. That's something I came across. It's hard to really work out what's going on, but they just don't have the footage for it.
Right.
And I wonder if they could have faked it a better way. Like just maybe you don't even show them getting out, just because it's kind of, or they're starting to climb out and you end it, but you've kind of got a kind of coherent ending when just all the zombies are burning, but then they get out and then there's this extra level of uncertainty. It's just,
I mean, I'm all for ambiguous endings. I mean, again, just to sort of bring it up, the thing, did the ambiguous ending brilliantly, and that was only a couple of years. I mean, obviously, we're talking like different productions and different budgets, but I mean, if you the story, anyone can write a good story. But yeah, I mean, they did the ambiguous ending brilliantly.
Yeah, I think it's more just the actual footage we are shown does not match what we're told to feel about it.
I suppose.
It causes a bit of dissonance for me.
But again, I suppose it's consistent, because if something terrible was going on in front or behind John, he ain't reacting to it.
Yeah. A confusing one.
Yeah.
Well, TCG, I can understand. This was not a massive hit for you. I can't say it was a massive hit for me either, and the big problem is that sense of disconnection. I think I've got to say that's the main issue I have with it.
Oh, same here. Because when I watch a film for the first time, normally when I finished it, because obviously it's your first one, you clearly don't catch anything. One of the things I'm terrible with are names, for example. So
yeah,
it's times to watch a film before I start really sort of identifying characters by name. But at least I can understand the story, and I can sort of, if somebody, like if my wife says, "Oh, what was this film?" But I can relatively, I can go back and sort of relatively describe the story quite well, even if like certain elements of I might miss out certain elements. The crux of it, the Guinness reading, if you will be somewhat coherent, but just I did not feel immersed at all for large parts of this film. None of the characters really sort of. I never felt like connected to any of the characters. Some of the shots that they were doing, I could see they were trying. For me, it just didn't work. The reactions just didn't match the situation that they were facing. There were potentially good characters that were left out, like good old Shaft.
I know there was the opportunity.
He could have been a good character. That's someone that you can sort of, put your hat on, place your hat on and say, all right, that's going to be one of our protagonists in this film. There's a purpose. He suspects there's been a murder. There's an investigation. There is if you're going to get anyone to investigate what's going on and develop that story, that police officer would have been the person to do it, not just some random journalist who decides to pop up. Like the cop should have been the one. There was a purpose there. Missed opportunities, poor too long to do.
I find it hard to disagree, and there feel like some basic mistakes, which is really weird to read about from a director who is, actually quite far into the filmmaking career at the time he's done this. Do you think you could round off into a score? And by the way, chat, I would invite you to submit your scores.
I've seen Slim gave it a 6.
Slim got in there with a 6, but 6 burgers, moldy bun. Yeah, I can't really disagree. I think that's quite fair, to be honest, Slim.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna go lower. Yeah. Do you know what? When I finished this film, I genuinely was like, this is a 1. This is a 1. I was just so disappointed.
One
now we've had
out.
Well, it's not brutal. Even. It's still horribly undercooked. But now that we've talked about it, I feel like that would be a bit too harsh, because there are certain elements to this film that do deserve praise. Like some of the practical effects do warrant praise. Like the biggest one that stands out to me is Bob. His death, even though the guy killing him is shouting murderer as he's literally murdering a man, he's outraged at the very thing that he is doing. Stupid. At least the effects, that drill going through that guy's head, excuse me, and the effects of that were very impressive. But then it's offset against other crap, the priest being set on fire. It just, I just, what earns this film extra points for me is purely just some of the cosmetic stuff, some of the practical effects that they do. And that one scene when where the woman does wake up inside the grave, while the reaction of the journalist to save her is way too long than it needed to be, there were still moments of real tension. There was a genuine moment where you think, oh, he could just walk away, she could die, or there's a moment where you think, oh, he's gonna brain her with the pickaxe trying to save her. So there it does. It's probably like one of the only scenes for me that really works. I'm going on, but I have to just sort of explain how disappointed I am, because there are some good elements to it, but it's just so heavily outweighed by the bad. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to say it's a 3. The burger's undercooked. There are some nice bits of ketchup on the top, but then it's ruined by vegan salad cream on the bottom.
Oh, say it ain't so.
Yeah, it's just
3.
it's a very poor burger.
I'm seeing a lot of the scores are around a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, and
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I could get it. I could get it. I genuinely can. I can see why people would probably give it a higher score. It was just my initial gut reaction to the film afterwards. I was just like, I just was not impressed. If anything, having the conversation and sort of reflecting on it more has bumped that score up. That's
good.
It. So yeah,
good. Yeah.
John says,
Joe,
I wonder how TCG would do with the gates of hell, mate. I'm the one who opens them.
Oh, bless.
I am the one who knocks.
Joe, I can totally understand this, mate. I can totally understand.
Yeah, see, I was tempted to. I was so tempted to, especially when I'm screaming at the bits of the film to just sort of just get on with something. But then I felt like I felt like I should watch it in its entirety. But Joe, completely agree, my dude.
Mr. GB is there with a 5 out of 12. So yeah, I can respect a 5. Okay, closing thoughts. I think it's got to be, how can I say? This is like midway through the Giallo formation, basically. So it's not right at the early stage of the genre, but it's not right at the end. It's kind of middle. And we're seeing lots of cool stylistic touches that I like. I'm going to show an image that a lot of you won't like, so I apologize in advance. And hey, Devante, good to see you, man. And good to see you, Eadwolf, getting in there just as I deliver the score. So don't worry. I guess you can probably watch it unspoiled. I'm going to throw up an image here, and throw up is very much the word I should use for it. Where are we? Here we go. This is from the scene with Bob. The visuals this film puts out are not to be messed with. You know, this is stomach churning stuff, but because it was not tied up to a plot that really flowed or to characters that were particularly memorable. And there's always with Giallo that sort of slight alienating effect caused by the very, distinctive dubbing method. This stuff couldn't have the full impact. I'm going to get that off the screen now because I'm sure no one wants to look at it for more than they really have to. I guess you could sum this up as wasted potential. There are lots of scenes that don't go anywhere, lots of chances to have interesting characters lead, like the detective. And that distances me from the film. When I find myself having that instinct to check how long is left, and I'm having a dialogue with waifu about, right, 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, it's not a good sign. We were watching, for a comparative experience, we recently watched, for that video on woke horror, we watched The Craft Legacy, and we're just going like, it's an hour into the movie and there is no antagonist. What the heck is happening? And that I had that similar thing of just like checking the time. When is stuff going to move on? However, there are some beautiful shots. There are some really good effects. The score by Fabio Frizzi is good and builds that sense of dread. It's a missed opportunity. I wouldn't say it's a 1 or a 2, but I wouldn't recommend it to people. I think, 3. A 3 is probably about right. It's a curiosity. There's some strong scenes. I think it's a 3. A very out-of-date burger.
Yeah.
Where it's out of date and they've tried to cover it up with too much ketchup.
Yeah.
But you know what's going on. Okay. All right, folks. Well, it's not quite what I expected, but the point is, you can still take a lot from a film, even if you didn't particularly enjoy it. And it was instructive to see it This is our first in our Giallo arc. I think the next one will be a lot more in the mystery murder investigation that the genre is really known for. So your horror homework for next week is, and I want to make sure I get this right, Paolo Cavera's Black Belly of the Tarantula. That's quite the title. Black Belly of the Tarantula.
Right,
and I will type it in for you. Now, there are certain streaming sites that people don't like you linking to that have it if you struggle. But we also had the great tip from Brundlefly that if you sign up with the Arrow, was it Arrow Film streaming service? You can get a month free trial. You might be able to find it on there. But I trust you are familiar with the internet. I am sure you will be able to get your hands on Cavara's Black Belly of the Tarantula. That is what we're watching next week.
Love it. I've just searched it up, and the image that it has to like the image that it accompanies the title is just a woman with her baps out.
Yes.
So we're already in Big Mac territory now, guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very Italian, saving on the costume department in a few scenes. I'm sure I will have to deploy the Britisher. But we're also going to be joined by Shrouded Hand. He's coming back.
Oh my gosh. He's proper taking on Harriet's role at this rate.
That'll be no bad thing. You know, we love Shrouded on this channel, and he loves the video nasties. So, but he also said he hasn't seen it, so he wants a bit of a challenge. I haven't seen it. This is one of those arcs where it's going to be a lot of exploration, and I'm going to be learning a lot as well. So that is your horror homework. You have it. I've already set the stream up, so make sure you click the notification so you get told when we're doing it. But good luck doing your horror homework. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I enjoy it. And TCG, I really hope you enjoy it after Plan 9 and then this. I've put you through the ringer, haven't I?
Do you know what? I'm one bad film away from just quitting this project.
Oh, no.
I might need a month off Horror Show.
If the opportunity comes up, maybe I can help you out there.
Yeah.
And Sparky, yeah, we love Shrouded on this. He's an absolute gent.
We do.
He's fantastic. So we're very happy to have him back next week. Now, speaking of this, I will mention Shrouded in case anyone hasn't seen it. I tried a new thing with Shrouded last week: real horror versus real horror. So I have another channel look at a real life incident on their channel, and I have a conversation with them on my channel about the horror film related to that incident. And at Needle and Thirst suggestion, we were talking about Ghost Watch, which had a real life tragedy attached to it. So we had Shrouded Hand on for that. It was a really good conversation. It's really good. And I was so pleased because that was an experiment. Now we're doing another real horror versus real horror. And TCG, it's you and me for that one.
Yes. We're going to be looking at Wolf Creek?
Yeah. Wolf Creek, interesting. They kind of tried to push Wolf Creek in with Saw and Hostel.
Yeah.
But it's a very different film. And Joe, Simon Roberts brought you in. I love Simon.
Nice.
Guy is so good. And bless him. I asked him if he could be the voice of J.G. Ballard for a video, and the guy went above and beyond. It's wonderful, honestly. I can't sing his praises enough. Hopefully we'll have him back on soon. So, folks, that is everything. We have your horror homework, Black Belly of the Tarantula. I say the title a lot because I basically chose it for the title. I thought it was irresistible. And we'll have another real horror versus real horror for you at the end of next week. TCG has put out a video today. So if you haven't caught it already, go and do it. Go and watch that.
Definitely do. Yeah. If you're here from Shrouded Hands channel, presumably you like your true crime. That's what I do over on my main channel. I'm trying to get back to doing weekly uploads. It's been sort of on and off for the last few months. I was doing a bit of fortnightly stuff here and there, and then sort of everything. And then I took a month off uploading, but I'm back now. Just to sort of expand. So the Australians in the chat, so Bilbo and Gently Benevolent, or the residents of Australia, I should say, at the very least, should be familiar with the real life story behind Wolf Creek. That is Ivan Milat. I'll be covering the events that actually inspired the film Wolf Creek on my channel. And are we going to do like what you did with Shrouded? We'll try and like do we'll sort of time the releases to sort of coincide our conversation and the story. I'm assuming that's how that will go.
Yeah.
But what we also do on my main channel, or what we've started to do recently on my main channel, is like a little community sort of quiz night, which we've been doing for what now? This will be the third week. And will you be there tomorrow?
I am available. Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Yeah,
I really like this new format. So yeah, I'm absolutely going to be there.
Yeah. I'm making little tweaks here and there as well. So I've sort of ditched the sort of Floridian Air sort of title and just sort of called it like a Friday crime quiz or something along those lines. But yeah, it's all good to go. So yeah, it's the community against my panel. There's 21 questions, and yeah, it's really fun. And I just look at some sort of stuff that sort of happened throughout the week, and maybe before and after that, just throw it into a quiz and just sort of spend time with the guys to have a bit of fun, because I want to be a little bit different to sort of like your bog standard true crime channel that just uploads once or twice a week, and that's about it. I want to, the support that I've had over the last year or so, and you can attest to this, Horror Show, with your community as well. We do genuinely really appreciate it, and if there's something that we can do to give back to you guys, then we absolutely will. It isn't unnoticed, and we do appreciate it.
Yeah, that genuine. We're sounding a bit soppy and un-British, but it is true.
It does come across sloppy, and you just say it, but it's like, no, you actually don't realize how important. I mean, like, I was saying to Horror Show backstage, if I can get myself into a position where I can get this, this can be like a full-time gig for me, that would be amazing. Instead of working for the man, be the man. Get
exactly. I like it. Speaking of giving back, Mergu, I did see you ask this earlier. I'm very up for doing a werewolf arc.
Yes.
I'm very, maybe I'll work out, maybe we do classic werewolf and then we can do modern werewolf, or we could do a mix each time. I don't know. But I'm very up for that. I have got the next 2 arcs planned at least. So it would be in the next year, but we can do it. And I've also seen Joe, Japanese horror. I would be really up for that. One of our first arcs was Korean horror, but I think it'd be cool to do some of the really old Japanese horror, Kuroneko, that sort of stuff, I think. So I'm up for that. It's probably going to be something we cover in the new year, though. As you know, I book my arcs quite far off. But that is, I think it's everything from us.
Yeah.
Thinking I might do a Halloween stream as just like a party, like a 1-hour quick fun and games and scary movie quiz thing. Thinking about it, if that's, let me know if that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
But
I'd be up for that. Yeah, quizzes.
Because it's on a Monday night, it's a weird time, but maybe we should have a bit of fun for an hour.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I will leave it there. Again, massive thanks to you, TCG. We'll try and get you a good one soon, mate.
Yeah, please do.
Bless you. Bless you.
It's a pleasure as always. It was serious.
All right. Cool. And chat, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. And also, everyone watching on the replay, especially if you're new, hi, I hope you enjoyed it. And there aren't terrible OnlyFans jokes every week. Not every single week, I mean most, but no. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there and sign off. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.